Hey everybody, so I just want to make a video to give you a quick refresher on what exactly a DBQ or document-based question is and what the expectations are this year in 8th grade as we move forward. So you will be doing your first DBQ. It is going to be on Andrew Carnegie, and you're going to have to make the decision based on the documents. The question is going to be whether or not you feel and believe that Andrew Carnegie was either a hero and a philanthropist or a villain and a robber baron. And we'll define both of those as we go here. So what is a thesis? Thesis statement is something that you're going to hear all throughout your schooling. It is the main idea of your whole paper, if I move my face here. And then how do you write one? So in my class, what we do is we teach you have a claim, and then you have your because and your three reasons. So if my question for my document-based question or my DBQ was, is Mr. Rizzio the best teacher ever? I'm not Mr. Rizzio, obviously, but I like to use him as an example for fun because most of you guys have him. So my response to that would be, Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever, that's my claim, because, and then three of my reasons. He cares about all of his students, he works really hard, and he knows his content really well. So those would be my three reasons. So I would have my claim again, Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever, the word because, and then my three reasons behind that. So that's all one sentence. That's something that often gets confused or mixed up. So let's look at this real quick. So again, how do you write one? You take the DBQ question. The example that I just gave you was, is Mr. Rizzio a good teacher? Or is Mr. Rizzio the best teacher ever? And then I turn it into a statement. I can either say that he is or he is not based on what I have facts and evidence and opinion. I would say Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever. That would be my statement. And then I would add my three reasons, which I just went over. He cares about his students, he works harder than anybody, and he knows his content really well. And again, that's one sentence. So that's where you're going to see this one here. Another example of this thesis, the DBQ question, should schools allow cell phones in the classroom? You would either have yes or no. You would never put yes, phones should be allowed in the classroom, because you're essentially saying the same thing twice. Same with no, phones should not be allowed in the classroom. You're saying no and should not, or yes and should. So you have basically the same thing twice in there. So I really try to discourage you from writing that in my class anyway. So thesis statement here is schools should allow cell phones in the classroom because, one, I would say students can use them as technological tools. Two, students can reach out to parents in the if something happens in class, if they need a ride home or some plans change. And then three, let's just say they allow students another way to access Google Classroom. So those would be my three reasons there, and I would need evidence to back all three of those up. So what is parenthetical citation? Telling readers where you got the information in parentheses at the end of the evidence. So I would have my evidence in quotes, most times in quotes if I'm going to use word for word. Right after that, I would have the parentheses that look like this, with doc A, doc B, doc C, whatever place, whatever document that I got that specific quote or piece of evidence from, I would have to put after the quote inside of the period. And we'll show what that looks like here. Again, so Thomas Paine wrote, so you should always have an introduction. You should never just throw a quote out there. And it can be Thomas Paine quote, it can be according to Thomas Paine, in one of Thomas Paine's pieces of work he said, but then you have a comma here to start your quote. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. And then here's what I was talking about, the parenthetical or parentheses with the documentation or citation inside of the period, so that we know that this all goes together. You put the period outside of that parenthetical citation. What is a counterclaim? Counter, when you think of something, is not where you put your food in the kitchen or anything like that. A counterclaim in this part would be the opposite. So if I make an argument and you counter that argument, you would obviously have the opposing or opposite view. So it is the opposite point of view than your thesis statement. And you want to do this to lend some kind of empathy or to kind of make your viewer or your reader willing to see that, like, you see both sides, but your opinion matters most because of reason 1, 2, 3. So if I was to say Mr. Rizzio, going back to my claim, Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever because he cares for his students, he works really hard, and he knows content really well for math. You might also say, well, Ms. Hockmuth is also a really great teacher for a lot of the same reasons, but I had Mr. Rizzio as a teacher, so I consider him to be the best. So some way, shape, or form showing that, or maybe you'd say like Mr. Rizzio sometimes eats food in class or something. So like he has some flaws, but he is still the best teacher. So you want to show some kind of counter in that. And then what are the four things that should be in a body paragraph? So you have your intro paragraph that ends. The last sentence of that is going to be your thesis statement. You have three body paragraphs and then an outro or a conclusion paragraph. These three body paragraphs are going to consist of these four things. So a topic sentence, one of the reasons your thesis statement that you created. So my thesis statement would be Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever because blank, blank, blank. And each one of those blanks would have its own, each one of those reasons essentially would have its own body paragraph. So topic sentence number one for body paragraph number one would be Mr. Rizzio is the best teacher ever because he worked harder than any other teacher, period. Then I would give you evidence of that, including a citation, and I would explain my evidence. So each of these body paragraphs is going to consist of these four things. And that is the end of the presentation. I hope that was a good refresher for you for DBQs. If you've not done DBQs before, maybe you're new to Harlem, maybe your teacher didn't do them, which I would highly doubt from last year because we know that 7th grade HMS teachers do teach DBQs. Maybe you need a refresher, maybe you just needed an overview, I don't know. I hope this helped, and please ask questions via email, phone, whatever, if you need it. Thank you.